Hello, and what's this week's Devil in the Detail podcast? I'm Rob Parkinson, and I'm here talking all things Salford Red Devils. Joining the show this week, as ever, we've got Paul Parkin. How's your week been, mate? Anything exciting? Looking forward to a big 150-year birthday celebration this weekend?
Yeah, good evening, gents. Yeah, I've had a good week. I've been up in the Lake District for a few days. I could have swam round it. I think it was that wet, but it's still a beautiful part of the world, isn't it? It was nice to get away for a few days, away from the mundane everyday stuff. It was a nice break. Lack of Wi-Fi wasn't great, I'll be honest, but they're first world problems. But yeah, other than that, and just to let everybody know again, I'm not winking at everybody. My eye's not working, so if you think I'm just winking at the camera all the time, I'm being sarcastic. I'm not. But yeah, other than that, yeah, it's been good. I'm still a little bit jealous I didn't get to go to France and Spain this year. And it looks like everybody had a good laugh. So yeah, but other than that, yeah, I'm really looking forward to this weekend. Sunday should be a bit of an epic day, really.
Yeah, Paul Parkin trying to take Paul Whiteside's crown as everyone's favourite with a cheeky wink every so often. That's good. Also joining us, we've got Paul Whiteside, fresh from his journey to France and back. How was it, mate?
Yeah, hi Rob, hi Paul. Yeah, it was good. We flew to Spain, to Girona on Friday morning. Then we got the train then to Perpignan. Stayed in Perpignan. It was really good. It was a good trip. We stayed in it was a little campsite actually, about 2 miles from the Gilbert Brutus Stadium. It was like a pod, like a static sort of caravan thing. So it was cheap and cheerful in there. But they had a swimming pool on the campsite, so we spent all day sat just in the pool because it was boiling. So and then just got a taxi to the match. So it was dead chilled out, dead relaxed. And then obviously the game wasn't great, but we had a really fun time, me and my dad and Imogen. And yeah, good road trip. And yeah, we had a good laugh. And yeah, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, my daughter got christened on Sunday, so that's why I didn't go to France. But we had the rehearsal on Saturday afternoon, evening time when the match was kicking off. So I was sat in church asking the big man upstairs for a favour to try and get the result we needed. Got to maybe 6:20, and I come out of the church, checked my phone. It was 0-0, and I thought, here we go. But you know what? We've weathered the storm. Might be on this. Jumped to my car, had to run an errand. Got back to the car after the errand, checked my phone, 22-0 down. I was like, oh, I should have stayed in church, Paul.
They defended well for that first 20 minutes, but they didn't have any ball. It was just all us defending, and yeah, eventually they broke us down with, I think, 3 tries from kicks early doors. But yeah, it wasn't a night to remember, really.
Yeah, so we'll have a look back at that game. We got all the news coming out of the club this week, and then we'll preview the game against St Helens on Sunday. So we'll look back at the Catalan game now. So Salford Red Devils were defeated 42-0 against Catalan away from home. Paul, I watched it on RDTV today. You went to France. Thoughts?
I thought they put a good effort in the first half. I thought we worked hard. It was boiling hot conditions, and we were up against it. The King Bunny Iowa situation didn't help, and to go to Catalan with 18 players, which is all we had, and the lack of forwards as well. We're short on numbers. You got no Matt Sneed, you got no Tim Lafay as well. They're a big miss. I don't want to go on about injuries, but I think we were doing it tough. We were low on numbers and whatever. So. Yeah, I don't think there was a lack of effort from the players. I just think we were beaten by the better side. Sometimes you've got to hold your hand up, and Catalans were good. We defended really well for that first 20 minutes. They scored a couple of tries from kick-throughs. We were still in the game up until half-time, and then I think Brodie Croft knocked on at the scrum, and they scored from that, and for me, that was it. Then it was game over, but we didn't shut the towel in. We kept on going. It was disappointing that we didn't score, but you watched the game, Robbie. You'd be able to tell me how many sets of 6 we had on the Catalan line. It wasn't many. I think maybe two opportunities, something like that. We had no possession whatsoever, and it was like men against boys. To me, it was like a championship side going there in the cup, really. They're a good team though. They're a big team, big pack of forwards, and they just dominated us. And if you look back on these 5 defeats we've been on now, we've been dominating the forwards every week. And another thing, I said it to Kurt Haggerty, and I don't think he liked me saying it really, but I'm going to say it again because it needs saying. Penalties. We're getting absolutely tanned in the penalty count every week.
Yep.
8-2, I think it was. 10-2 the week before. So it's all right, Kurt saying don't want to talk about it, but you need to talk about it because you're not going to win a match when you're getting absolutely smashed in the penalty count and the 6 agains as well. So there's something not right there at the moment, and I can't quite put my finger on it, but there seems like there's a bit of unrest in the camp.
Yeah, you'll hear that in Paul's interview in about 5 minutes. You could see Kurt Haggerty's big white eyes come out when you mentioned penalty counts. But I've got to agree with you. I think the penalty count, the 6 agains, just like you say, it just piggybacks Catalan up the pitch in important moments. It was errors as well. I thought, to be fair, I want to sort of split them into two. There was, I want to call them positive errors where we're attacking and we're trying to find something or make something happen. We steal the ball, but there was also errors of like round the ruck, knocking on and things like that. And it's like you can't keep turning sort of the ball over, can you? Against a big Catalan team in that heat, it's just asking for trouble really, and that's what they did. Like you said, Paul, they defended so well. I thought they absorbed a lot, but like anything, you can't go on forever like that. The dam will burst, and it did.
Yeah, for me, it was like we've gone over there and written the game off for me, and it was like damage limitation. We know we're not going to win this game. Let's just go and sort of not go through the motions, but let's not get beat by 50. Let's just try and keep the score down. Reminding me a bit of games sort of 20 years ago, the early 2000s when we sort of went to grounds like St Helens and Wigan and just keep it down. We're targeting the week after. We've got an home game against Wakefield the week after. We'll beat them. And it seemed a bit like that. I didn't expect us to win the game, Rob, I must admit. And when I saw the team put out, we're struggling. I put it in the preview this week. You look back to the Shane Wright injury, and since he got injured, our defence it's not right. The pack's not right. You're missing Watkins as well. You can't play without back rowers and that, and the big defenders as well. These do a lot of tackling, and then you lose Tyler Dupree like they do pre-season. Why sell Tyler Dupree the week before you got to Catalan? Why don't they sell him the week after? It's another body to take with us. So I didn't get that. You're talking Dupree, Vuniyawa, Watkins, Shane Wright. They're 4 big men out of your pack. We can't play Catalan. Look at Ben Elliwell, best winner in the world, runs his socks off. He's not a massive forward though, and these teams are targeting him. They'll just run at him all day and wear him out. And he put a massive shift in, but he's not a big man. You need that bit of support. Then we're just getting trampled at the moment in the forwards, and I think St Helens on Sunday is going to be the same thing.
And I think for me as well, they didn't. There was no sort of game management for me. It was just sort of unable to build pressure. Like you said, weren't much territory. They weren't really completing sets. They were kicking early or coughing the ball up, and it all kind of like sort of built to this kind of like panic stations towards the end, where individuals trying to solve the problem. When we all know rugby league, if you kind of work as a team and moves get created, there's more opportunity to score, and it just felt like it was a bit of panic setting in at the end for me.
Yeah, it did do. There's a couple of times where the ball had gone out wide. I think Joe Burgess got a couple of half chances and that, and he didn't look ready. He looked like sort of, wow, here's the ball, and you've got to be switched on. I think there's a lot of players who weren't concentrating, and I don't know. They just seemed the mind seemed elsewhere to me, and I can't put my finger on that. I mean, we were talking on the train on Sunday, saying, is it all this off the field stuff that's going on? Is it playing on players' minds? You don't know. The team don't look as confident. I mean, I know you just mentioned there about the game management and the way we played. You miss Mark Sneed. You miss Mark Sneed for getting you around the pitch. There's no doubt about that. But I'm with you there. We never looked like scoring. We never looked like we was going to score in that game. I don't think we created one opportunity really, and that's a worry because at the moment we're a team that's really beat up, and we're a team that's really low on confidence. Where's the next win going to come from? Because they look a bit lost at the moment. And speaking to Paul Rowley in the press conference, and he sort of said the similar sort of thing that he says every week, and we do look a bit rudderless.
Yeah, I think, like you say, you talked about players being switched on and switched off. There was a cycle. 3 tries from them came from us having a good defensive sort of sequence, penalty for us, opportunity at their end, chance came and went, our heads dropped, we gave away a penalty, and then they scored off the back of it. 3 times that happened. So you can see where the problem is. It's kind of like building yourself up to we are at their end. We don't get there very often. We need to score now, and because we didn't score, everyone's head drops, and then Catalan play off the back of it.
Yeah, that's it. And you can't allow Catalans, especially in France, and that heat to be able to play like that. I mean, they get the sort of crowd behind them there, and I won't be surprised if we didn't lose any games in France really, because they seem to get all the decisions with that partisan crowd behind them. They must be tough to beat there, but no, you can't allow them to run at you like that. And they did. They just steamrolled us, and I don't know. We look completely disorganised, and like I said before, I don't think it was a lack of effort, because they were trying out there, but they just couldn't compete with it. And no, it's tough, because it doesn't look like there's any other players going to come in, and that's what we need at the moment. I know we've got Brad Singleton who's coming, haven't we? But we desperately need that now. We desperately need freshening up a bit, because all teams get injuries, but when you've got a small squad like what we've got, it's really getting tested. The resolve's really getting tested, isn't it? And it's tough. Players are having to put a massive shift in out there and play big minutes, but they are struggling. You can see that from the stands. Yeah.
Positives though for me, thought Brodie Croft was brilliant, just trying to get things going. Couple of opportunities, nearly scored, nearly kicked CO to score in the corner, ball bounced out, made a break, created the sin bin. I think it was Tompkins got binned for holding on. Ryan Brierley clobbered Tompkins, forced an error, but and the forwards worked hard against the big Catalan pack. But like you said, it's a difficult situation. We're lacking the bodies. Catalan on top of the table. It's. I suppose it's a game which Paul Riley would have, in the situation he finds himself in, would have scratched it off as a loss.
Yeah, we'd have been better off not turning up and losing 24-0, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
Giving them the game. But no, you get days like that, don't you? It's tough sometimes. It's a tough place to go. I mean, just look. I was listening to. We was in the airport on Sunday. Was listening to Wakefield and Warrington on the radio, and look at them. They got beat by 40 points. They had the first choice team out, and they got smashed by 40 points at Wakefield. So you do get days like that, don't you? You get bad off days, and Catalans, I think, deserve a lot of credit, because they're a good side, and you look at them and you think, yeah, they've got a massive chance of winning that Super League this time, because they're the most consistent team in the league, and they've got some good players. They've got a good pack. They're very, very physical, and they've got some real talent in the back line as well. So I think they're going to take some stopping. So I came away from the game. I tell you what, you have to mention the supporters. I thought the supporters were absolutely outstanding. I mean, my dad just nudged me at the end and he said, just look at that. What team would come here and lose 42-0 and the supporters are just singing their hearts out? You wouldn't get that. And I think that support we've got is tremendously away following. So that sort of brightened it up. But no, I think you've just got to keep positive now. We've got some tough games coming up, and we've just got to attack these games, and hopefully we get some bodies back. Losing Tim Lafayette as well, I know, the birth of his child and whatever, so he couldn't go. So that was another player that was missing. So there's a lot of mitigating circumstance, I think, in that defeat at Catalan.
Thoughts, Parker?
So last week when we did the podcast, I said that I didn't expect anything from this game. I looked at the two squads on paper. There's no comparison. You're going over to the south of France, 30-odd degree heat. We're taking definitely not our strongest squad. Beaten, a bit battered after the last few weeks. I expected nothing. We got nothing. Now, sitting at a friend's house, actually, following it on Twitter, and the scores start coming through, and it gets to 42. We were discussing and saying it's not good enough. That's rubbish. You can't be getting beat 42-0, blah, blah. And then I started to read people's sort of tweets and things like that of those that were there, like Paul, and I saw his bit of video at the end and stuff. And obviously, without being there, you don't know. But everybody was still positive about it, about the result. And it made me think, well, maybe we weren't that bad. We're just not good enough. We're not at that level of Catalan with that team we've got. And then Paul said, it was like a championship team, and it is. A lot of them players, how many players in that team have come from the championship? You got to look at that. Catalan are dealing with NRL superstars. We're not at that level. There's a point that I want to make about the penalties and six agains, and it comes through being dominated a lot of the time, being on the back foot. You're either trying to slow the play down, or you're keeping your hand in. You're trying to just do some interfering, or you're getting caught offside because you're not getting back quick enough. Because we're losing that battle up front. We're getting pushed back and back and back, and then you've got to try and do something to stop that. The only problem is that generally you'll get picked up for it. We do need to get a little bit of beef in the forwards. I don't suppose it's going to happen too much now, but certainly for next season, because that's let us down. However, I spent the other night. I was pretty negative about it all, about the whole. We'd had a bad week. Let's not play games here. We all felt a little bit down, a little bit perhaps cheated out of something. But the more I've thought about it, been away, like I say, for the last few days, I think going over to Catalan, like I say, under them conditions, and just putting the effort in is it's a good start. Because once you get the likes of a Watkins, Wright, Sneed, King V, Laffey, people like that in that team, it's a different animal completely. So there are positives even in a big defeat, and nobody wants to get hammered. Nobody. I'm not stupid, but at the same point, sometimes it happens. Like Paul said there. I mean, our Warrington fans feeling this week, they've had to get rid of the coach. An experienced and decent coach like Darryl Powell for what's happened, all the money they've spent. We're working in sort of pound land, if you like, sometimes, and we're getting a hell of a lot out of these players. But they're getting drained. They're getting beaten every week. That, like Paul mentioned a few weeks ago to me after the game, and I've mentioned it a few times, that the confidence gets knocked out here, the spirit a little bit. So we just need that spark, that one result that could see us through for the end of the year. And who knows, we'll go on to Saints in a bit, or whichever's coming up, whatever games are going to come up. That could happen quite easily, and it could turn like that, and everything can seem rosy again, like it did 6-8 weeks ago. So I'm not totally downhearted. Yeah, I don't want to get beat 42-0 by anyone. But if it's going to happen, there are circumstances. That wasn't the strongest 17 we could put out. And it was a club that I think things that are going on off the pitch will have a little bit of effect on players. There's talk of certain players with contracts and things like that. They're looking at renewing, or you want to know for certain you're guaranteed to get your wages every week. And, the club's going forward. You don't want to be part of a losing squad, a squad that next year might be in the position of Wakefield and Cass now fighting it out to stay. You don't want that. So certain guarantees that make a player feel secure, like we had earlier in the season when we were signing people on long contracts. So I just think we need a bit of luck. Sadly, the Leeds game and League game, they could have been the ones. It didn't happen. But I'm still fairly positive that we can still do something this year if we can get bodies on the park.
Yeah, got to agree with that. We want to talk about Powell before. We'll talk about it now. Warrington sack Powell. They go from champions elect to hanging on to playoffs. We go from playoff potential to dropping out the playoffs, Paul. There is factors in that: injuries, lack of form, people not being available. Paul Rowley is doing the best job he can do with what he's got at his disposal. We talked about last week, didn't we, Parker, about previous history of our last-minute transfer deadline transfers. Big moment this for me, because he's crying out for some players to come in, and it's whether or not Paul he gets his players now for a push for the playoffs, or can he weather the storm to get to the end of the season? That's the big question for me.
Yeah, if we talk about Warrington there, we're only 2 points behind Warrington, so we're not far off. And it's funny just discussing them for a minute, because I felt a bit sorry for Darryl Powell, to be honest with you. I was on Radio Merseyside the other day with Phil Kinsella. He asked me to just have a quick chat about Salford, and before I came on, they had Warrington's chairman on, and Phil got an exclusive interview with him. It was a brilliant interview, and it was really interesting because he asked him the question whether Powell was the right appointment, and the chairman said, "He's a long pause," and he said, "No, I don't think he was." And he was talking about all the great players that they've got. We've got a great team on paper, and it just had me thinking, well, if you've got all these great players, why is it Darryl Powell's fault then? Because these players need to take responsibility, don't they, and start performing. So I don't think you can compare us to them, sort of thing. But that's just another story. I just thought I'd add that in there because it just made me laugh, really, the way that the coach always seems to get the blame. So I was a bit surprised when I saw Powell went, because they've obviously got a lot of problems. I think their problems are worse than ours, to be honest with you, when you look at the way they got gubbed at Wakefield. But looking at us, I mean, I can't see any players coming in, and we're desperate, absolutely desperate for players. It's just one thing I'd like to ask the people at the club if I got the opportunity: why do we never sign any loan players? We never seem to bring anybody in on loan, and all these other clubs, I think Wakefield have signed loads of people. Cass have signed about 4 or 5 people last couple of days. They brought Blake Austin in today. Why aren't Salford? You know, we've just received this transfer fee for Tyler Dupree. Surely we could use some of that towards getting somebody on loan, because, or are we writing this season off? I mean, there's still a great chance this season of making the playoffs. And you know as well as I do, you get into the playoffs. Look at last season, we weren't really fancied, but we almost got to the grand final. So I don't know, what's the ambition of the club? What do we want to do? Do we want to be in Super League, or have we not got enough money to be in Super League? So if you're going to be competing in Super League, to me, you've got to go for it. So we'll have to see what happens. But it doesn't look like anybody's going to come in.
Yeah, but you can't lay the blame on Paul Rowley's doorstep for that, because for me, Rowley's got credit in the bank. Cass and Wakefield are cut adrift. They're not going to catch us. So in theory, he could be looking at towards the back end of the season thinking, Paul, he could be thinking, Parky, sorry, we could be thinking, well, I'll bed a few people in, and we'll build for a bigger, better season next season, because we all know the problem. It needs a bigger squad and a better quality of squad to compete for next season, and he probably knows that.
Yeah, you're right with Paul Rowley. I think he's got the safest job in Super League. I really do. I think if Paul Rowley got the boot by the club, there would be a riot. He's been one of the best things to happen to this club in a long time. He's obviously an excellent coach. He's a great man. A proper rugby league guy, and he gets the most out of what he's got. And he hasn't got a lot to work with sometimes, but he definitely makes players better. And that for me is what a good coach is. You know, it's easy coaching, you know, at the top of the league with the best players. It's a lot easier than doing what Paul Rowley's got to do every week when, you know, he turns out he don't know if he's going to have enough players to do a training session. As for bringing players in for the end of the season, I mean, for me, I said it last week, didn't I, that there's a case of, you know, can we afford to bring players in? Well, can we afford not to bring players in? Because we get 2 more injuries. We're not fielding a squad. We've already let Sarge go in the year. We let Lannon go. Longstaff's gone. Dupree's gone. I know we brought Singleton in now, but we're down in numbers. We need bodies. And I think Paul's right with the loan thing. Hull KR have gone out and loaned about another 3 this week because they're saving players for the cup final. You know, I know there is a money thing, but there must be players there in the championship, young kids waiting to have a crack. Give them a chance now on loan. See what they do for the end of the year. They might make a big name for themselves. You snap them up, you've got the next Tyler Dupree. I don't know, unless there is more to it and it is a financial thing, we are in bigger stuff than we thought we were, then, you know, that'll be explained to us eventually. But overall, I think if we could get bodies out again, even now, I still think we've got a great chance of making that top 6. We've got some really good players, really talented players. I mean, the 2 back rows in Wright and Watkins. For me, before Wright got injured, he was one of the form back rows in the league, no doubt about it. And he was increasing as a player, as an attacking threat as well, scoring tries, making them half breaks. And obviously, Callum Watkins for me is still as good as virtually anything we've got in Super League, and I mean that. You know, when you take him out of that team, you see the difference. And then you've got your Mark Sneyd and your Timmy Laffey's. And if we click, we're a dangerous side. We just need to get into the playoffs. And Paul's made the point, and I'm going to finish on this, that it's about the ambition. What do we want to achieve this year? Do we want to be a top 6 side? Even if we make the playoffs and get beat first week, it's progress. IMG are going to look at this and go, Salford have made the playoffs again. They're a good club. They're obviously going places. We finish 3rd bottom now and fade away, and Huddersfield finish above us or something like that. Everyone's going to go, same old Salford.
Yeah.
Don't want that. We don't want that. And next year, you know, whoever stays up between Cass and Waker, there's a chance they might strengthen. They might have an influx of cash from somewhere. I don't know. We don't want to be cut adrift next year. We want to finish in the playoffs and get players interested in playing for us, get more fans in the stadium, get more money in the till. So it's about ambition for me.
I'm well behind you there, Parky. I'm totally agreed. It's about the what it looks like Because if we're not competing in the playoffs, we're all right because we're all fans. We'll go every week. But people who are watching it on Grenard tonight, Northwest tonight, reading it in the paper, so finished second bottom. And then all that hard work over the last 2 years, 3 years, whatever, just goes down the toilet because people are thinking, like you said, same old Salford. We've got an opportunity to take that step. And I know we're tired, and I know the players have worked hard. I know we've got a small squad. It just needs that one moment. It needs an injection. And I don't know what that injection is, and it's not up to us to make that decision. That's Paul King, Ian Blease to make that big decision on what they do in this situation.
I also think at the moment, or now, since the money was handed over by supporters, I think we're under more pressure than we've ever been from the outside, from people saying, well, you've been given this money. Now, we know wasn't for players and so on, but what are we doing with it? How is the club strengthened now? How is it better than it was 6 months ago? You know what I mean? And these people now are more invested because they're financially invested, and that creates its own pressure. So that needs to be, it needs to be sorted. I think people just need a few answers at the moment, and get us back on a level where we were, like I say, 6-8 weeks ago. We were still up here. We were still buzzing. Still thought we can finish, third, fourth in the league easily. We were chasing Lee down, things like that. You're thinking, well, we can still do that. You look at the fixtures coming up. We've got easy, not easy games, more own games. We've got bigger games that we'll get up for. And now with a lot of fans, a lot of people I'm talking to saying, I'm not going. I'm not bothering. People who won't be going this weekend because of the run they're on, and they feel a little bit disillusioned. We can't afford that because we've had this peak in interest, and we need to keep it up there.
I'm with you again, Parky. Superb stuff. Paul, thoughts? I know there's a shareholders meeting tomorrow, which will be interesting to see what comes out of that.
Yeah, I'm working tomorrow, so I won't be able to go. It's a bit of a strange time to have it, but yeah, it's like we were saying there. It's about the ambition of the club, and I know we tend to cry poverty far too much for me, and you've just received a record transfer fee, so if we're not going to do anything with this money, what did we sell Tyler Dupree for? Then we might as well have kept hold of him. So we need to do something about that. Now, we can't keep moaning about money and finances and all that, because at the end of the day, if you can't afford to be in Super League, there's no point in us being in that league competing. Then we've got to get on with it now and stop moaning about it. So I don't know whether someone needs to come out at the club and just say what we're going to do with the money, because you can't compete with a small squad like that. It's especially when you get injuries, and you're going to get injuries because every team does. So at the start of the season it's going to be tough with that squad. So let's hope we can bring one or two in with this before this window shuts. It's looking doubtful, though, isn't it? Because when does it close? Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah, so well, in worst case scenario, let's hope we don't lose any more players, because I know after the Catalans game, it was, my wife said to me tonight, there's a load of rumours. I've not been on Twitter tonight. As soon as I walked in from work, she was saying there's a load of stuff about players at Salford moving on. So I thought, God, what's happened now? So I've not looked just in case somebody has moved. But yeah, we don't want to lose any more players now.
No, need about bringing them in, not flogging them off. You know what I mean? But we'll see. We'll see, like you say, transfer deadline day tomorrow, Friday. So we'll see what comes up. Hopefully, we'll get a couple in, and we'll get the spark we need. Paul, you spoke to Kurt Haggerty after the game. This is what he had to say. So that was Kurt Haggerty threatening you, talking about penalty counts. Obviously talked about the players, showing desire, staying in the fight with Catalan, and sort of sticking together. But one didn't accept that performance, he said.
No, you're not going to do when you lose 42-9. It's a bad defeat, isn't it? But just, we're going back to the penalties and that. I thought it was a question that needed asking, because it's been, pretty obvious last few weeks now. We've not just lost penalty counts. We've been absolutely battered in them, particularly against Leeds and Lee and the game at Catalan. So there's something not quite right there for me. But I agree with what Parky said. It's that desperation, I think, sometimes when you're struggling, you are holding on a bit longer. It's a bit like a boxer, isn't it? When he's getting absolutely battered, he'll lean in, won't he? Hold on. I do it sometimes when I'm getting tanned in sparring. You hold on to someone, don't you? Because you're getting bashed about all over the place. So you'll do anything to buy a few seconds and that. So you're desperate. So I think that's what we are at the moment. Sometimes in contact, you're getting swatted off by a bigger forward. You'll hold on a bit longer, won't you? And that's when you tend to give the penalties away, fatigue and that. So yeah, it happens, does it? When you're winning matches, you're winning penalty counts, everything's looking rosy and what have you. But at the moment, on a bit of a losing run, aren't we? And everything we seem to touch turns to mush, doesn't it? And that's how sport goes sometimes, doesn't it?
But your boxing analogy there about hanging on to people and cuddling them and trying to sort of make it scruffy, right? But that's positive thing. That's you thinking in the fight, you know what, I need to calm this down. The brain fart would be booting him in the shin, which is what we're doing. We're giving away silly penalties in certain situations. So I do where you come. I do see where you're coming from, but like you say, it's gameplay intelligence really, Parky, that is what's costing at the moment for me.
Yeah, well, I think we all say it every week on the terraces. And we're not to name names, but there are certain players who do the same mistakes every week. The same penalties are given away every week by the same players. I mean, Paul Roy must pull his hair out, but what can you do? You can't, you haven't got anybody else. You just got to use what you've got. But it's things like that where you go, why don't you learn? Why don't you educate yourself on it? Stop making them stupid mistakes. That's what separates the good players from the great players. You know what I mean? They've got that in-game intelligence. They know how to control the game, how to manage a game. But my problem is, like I say, we're losing the fight up front. We're on our back foot. We're on our heels a little bit. We're dragging players back. We're doing things. And like you say, that's when it just becomes scruffy and messy. We're not actually having an effect on them. We're actually playing into their hands. If you make the tackle first time properly and put the guy down on his back and make him struggle to get up, make the tackle dominant, you're on the front foot then. But we're not. Every time we're ending up on the floor, they're playing the ball before we've got up. Players aren't getting back straight away from a kick or anything like that. We're rambling back, taking forever. It's things like that just cost you the game. And it's about being switched on, I think. And I know we're tired, I know we're broken, but you're still full-time professional Super League players. There's not many of them about in this country. And you're the elite. So certain players have just got to switch on now, I think.
Final thoughts, Paul? Probably go to stats.
I think said it the weekend. I think they've just got to stick together now, the team, and just keep fighting. You get times like this, don't you? When you find out, the men and the boys don't, and what have you. So I think for me, they've just got to stick together, and the tide will turn. I mean, you look at our squad. If you put the full side out, say everybody's healing hands now, and we're all back fit, and we've not got any injuries at all. No, you've got a fully fit squad. No one's injured. That squad is good enough to beat anybody in the league. There's no doubt about that. You stick Watkins and right in the back row there. King Bunny you are up front. You've Tim Laffey back in the centre. You got Mark Sneed back. A fully fit squad there is good enough to finish in that playoffs, and we proved that at the start of the season. So I think we are going to see players coming back with a bit of luck. Shane Wright will play again before the end of the season. I hope so. Anyway, he was sat not far away from me at the weekend, and he's walking about now. He's not got anything on his leg or anything, so he does look a lot better. So hopefully he comes back. So I don't think it's a time to panic. I'm sick of seeing these meltdowns every week on social media, and particularly on Saturday again. I mean, it's not the end of the world when we get beat. But these days now, everybody seems to think there's got to be somebody accountable. Every time Salford lose a game, I want my money back. I want an apology. I want this. I want that. That's sport. You know that when you sign up. If you want an apology off Salford or your money back every week, well, you're not going to get it. So I've never had it in nearly 30 odd years of watching them. So I don't get it. So I think supporters just calm down a bit and get behind the team, and you've got to take the rough with the smooth as a rugby league, so as a football supporter, rugby league supporter. That's what it's all about. You go there and you get beat and you take it on the chin and you move on to next week. These days, everybody just wants to moan about it and want the money back. I can't get that attitude, because it's not me. But yeah, my advice to supporters and the players and that is stick together and things will get better.
Yeah, I suppose fans are invested, aren't they, Parky? And they get frustrated, they get angry that it's not quite what they want to see, but they are only human players. We're in this scenario which we're in as a club. There's sort of a target or an aim which we really should aim for, but we're not talking about being Super League champions here, are we? Yeah, I think sometimes fans get a bit sort of spaced out about what could be achieved.
Yeah, I think it's just society these days, instant gratification, isn't it? You got everything seems to be done in seconds. You can be famous in 2 minutes by just, showing your face on Instagram or something. I don't know. But it's, that's a society we live in. People just expect things to happen. But we've got to be realistic of where we are and who we are. We are probably the least, we spend the least on a salary cap, probably, in a Super League. We probably have the lowest gates. Maybe Wakefield might be challenging us right now, but they have been bottom of the league all year, to be fair to them. So that's, you've got to look at where we're coming from, to where we've been and where we're actually at. And if we do finish in the top 6 this year, it's actually, again, a minor miracle. Because some big teams are going to miss out. Some big spending teams. We could be talking Leeds, Hull, Warrington at the moment are on the slide. Saints aren't comfortable yet. Any of them, Wigan, it could happen to somebody that they're going to miss out. So I think, like Paul said, we just need to calm down. I get as fed up as anyone. I have a whinge. I feel awful after we've got beat every single week. I get angry at times. I think, why have we not won that? Why has he made that mistake? He's not gone out there to do that. That's not the idea. They haven't gone out there to lose the game. They haven't gone out there to do something stupid. It's just sometimes fatigue and maybe the level of player you've got. That's where you're at, and that's how you just got to handle it and move on. I've been supporting Salford for a very long time now, and I don't remember times being as good as we've had it recently. And yet there's people telling me sometimes this is the worst Salford team, or this is the worst result I've ever seen. If some of these are the worst results you've ever seen, you haven't watched very long. Because, I mean, we're going to have to go back to like you say, the late 90s, early 2000s. It was every week, this kind of result. I remember in the late 80s and then in the early 80s. I mean, God, it was awful. But you still went with your team. You still go and watch them. And I'm still watching them now. And I'll still be watching them hopefully in 40 years if I'm still around. That's what it is. You just got to accept it. And I know, like I say, we all get down. We all get angry. We all have a whinge. Get it out of the way. Get back the next week. But don't expect to win. You can't expect to win games. That's not the way it works. The team have got to work for it. And as a club, we've got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, I spent most of the early 2000s drunk, so it seemed like a good time, really. But I suppose now, because obviously doing RDTV and I'm in the press box with everybody, all the people, members of the press, like they aren't sort of emotionally invested in it. So I don't have that feeling of like everyone jumping up, going, oh, it's going mad, because they're just there reporting on it. They have no skin in the game, so I don't have that sort of anger, because there's nothing to feed off, if that makes sense, Parker.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I get exactly what you're saying. Me and my brother have, certainly in recent weeks, have left the ground in right whinging state. It's lasted most of the week after that. And then you still go back the week after. You still go and watch them. But I think sometimes it is. I think you get a swell of what's around you as well.
Yeah.
And someone will go one player, and then you'll start watching that player, and you go, "Why is he doing that? What's?" You might not have noticed it before. Recently with me, I've been sort of referees have really wound me up, or certain referees, and I'm sort of waiting for it. I'm ready for it. That he's going to do it, and he does it. You go, I think it's just sport. That's the way sport is. Great club, massive clubs, football, rugby, cricket, whatever you watch, have all had bad times. I've all gone through it. Some more than others, but it's just about the ride. That's the way it is. And like you said, I understand what you're saying, Rob, that sometimes when I go to a game, if I sit away from people, I do feel differently. And I get a different vibe. And at the end of the game, people will be going off their head about something, and I'll be, that's the way it happened. That was the game. Just deal with it. So yeah, I think you're probably right. You've got something there. It can be your surroundings that are influencing this anger that people are seeing at the moment. But we just need to remember that it's a long season. We've still got plenty of games left. We could still make the top 6, and you might look back at this little period and go, maybe it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. We were just, a bit unlucky.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because when obviously, Paul, you did your passionate Facebook speech to all the Salford fans, and I read that and I thought to myself, I don't really feel that. I thought that was me, but like you say, you might have nailed it there, Parky, that detaching yourself from everybody, not having that continuous kind of passion. Everyone's around you. As it died a little bit inside. I mean, that's a weird thing to say, really, Paul.
Say that again, Rob. I'm not following.
What I'm saying is basically you did that passionate Facebook speech, didn't you, this week?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and everyone, and it was beating your heart. What it meant to the club, what the club means to you. And I read it and thought, why am I not feeling like that now? Is it because, like Parky said, surrounded by these people who don't have any interest, and I'm not feeling the hurt, like I'm not feeling the utopia of winning? Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I just sort of say how I feel sometimes, and just say it from your heart, don't you? And I was a bit emotional at the game of the week because people had travelled a long way, hadn't they? And they just made me smile the way they were still all cheering. And like I said before, I don't think Wigan or St Helens or Warrington supporters would have been like if they got beat 42-0, because I think their supporters have got a different mentality to Salford supporters. I mean, I'm not talking about these fly-by-nights that come on whinging saying that we're rubbish all the time, these 5-minute wonders. I'm on about people like us. I think we're that mentality, aren't we? That we get knocked about a bit, don't we? But you just take it on the chin, don't you, and get on. But I just looked at them and they, don't know, it just made me a bit emotional because I'd had a good time with my daughter and that, and my dad coming over to France. We had a good time together, and to me, that's what it's all about. It's I want to go and win, but I've always enjoyed that bond that I've had with my dad over the club and the days that we've had, and we come away from it. Yeah, we have a bit of a whinge and a post-mortem after the game, but we'll go back for more next week because it's an addiction, isn't it? You want more. So, and it's this dream that we've been chasing all these years, and we're still chasing it now. So, yeah, that's how I look at rugby league, and that's how I've always looked at it. So yeah, I just get frustrated when I see people sort of, asking for their money back and things like that. And you'd never do that, would you? It's, what an apology off the club. I've seen a few of them recently this season. And nice, the players, aren't they? If you've ever been to work and had a bad day, you do, don't you? So I don't know. It's hard to put into words sometimes how you feel, but no, I don't know.
Yeah, it was good. It was good though. It showed your passionate commitment, and it was like a rallying call, wasn't it, Parky? That's what it's all about.
Yeah, I've been there. I used to put a rant on Scarlet Turkey back in the day, or a rallying call and that kind of thing, trying to just get the fans behind the club. And it's not all bad. It's our club. We've got to defend it. And I sent a message to you guys during the week, didn't I, about it? Saying people say, "Oh, why do you watch them? They're not very good," or whatever language they want to choose to use. And they go, "Yeah, but they're mine, not very good."
Yeah.
Mine, and that's what it's about, and that's how we all feel. And that at the end of seeing them scenes that Paul was talking about in Catalan, seeing the crowd still singing, and you can see it in the players, what it meant, to sort of say thank you, because they're hurting. They didn't want to get beat 42-0 in that heat. They didn't want to travel over there and get hammered. It's not what they're about. They look at the fans and go, thank you. But we are trying. We will get there, but at the moment, we're struggling. And that is, like Paul said, I think that's a mentality of Salford fans. I think most Salford fans, we know it's little old Salford, and we've got to fight for everything. But we'll do it together. There's no point being, factions and anything else. There's not many of us a lot of the time. So let's just stick together, get behind the boys every week, and we've just got to take these knocks.
Yeah, nice little counselling session for us. That's good stuff. Stats. Top tacklers: Jack Ormondroyd 19, Andy Ackers 26, Andrew Dixon 31, Sam Stone 27, Oliver Partington 40, Alex Gerrard 30, Ben Elliwell 40. Paul.
Yeah, I thought Ben Elliwell, as I mentioned before, put big shift, and he's not the biggest guy in the world, is he? But he does. He puts it in, and I thought he was tremendous in that game. He really did work his socks off. And I thought another player you probably mentioned shortly, I thought he had his best game for Salford. And it was weird, really. I come away from the game thinking, he had a great game, but we didn't score a point. Was Brodie Croft.
Yeah.
I thought he was outstanding. He made about 3 or 4 breaks like he did last season. He was dead elusive, but we just didn't have the nous to finish his breaks off really. But I thought he was spot on. And for me, he does a bit too much of the dirty work. You know, he does too much tackling really. He shouldn't be doing that. He should be doing the more creative stuff. But he has to muck in and do that. But no, I thought Ben Elliwell was good. I thought Gerrard. I thought Alex Gerrard worked really hard, and it's good to see him working hard because, you know, he's had these problems with his knees. And another player I thought deserved to mention was James Greenwood because he's been out for so long. I mean, I'm sure he's in his 4th season at Salford now, and I don't think he's played that many games in that 4 years. Has he played 20 matches in 4 seasons? I bet he hasn't. So it was good to see him back because it must be frustrating when you're on the sideline all the time. So, and he's a nice bloke as well, and he's a talented player. So let's hope that, fingers crossed for him now, he gets a good run of matches.
Yep. Top meter makers, Brodie Croft 151, Oliver Partington 54, Ben Helliwell 53, and CO, Burgess and Cross all made over 80. But like we talk about in previous podcasts, Parker, they catch the ball on the 5th tackle and have 15 yards to run into.
Yeah, our problem with the meters every single week is forwards, isn't it? Making them big meters. That's where we need them to be, getting us up the park. But when you've done that much defending, sometimes you've got nothing left. You know, you mentioned there a couple of players doing over 40 tackles or whatever. That's not, you know, that's not great. You want your players to do, you know, if your forwards are doing 20 odd tackles each, that leaves plenty in the tank for going forward. You get into the 40s, you know, it's all right to have one player. You know, we used to have like an Alker or like a Hull who got Danny Houghton and people like that. You always get mainly a hooker who'll just do 50 odd tackles or something like that. That's fine. But it's the other players then that, you know, you're relieving them of that duty. We've got a problem there, and we have had for 2-3 seasons now in going forward. But I mean, I've got the stats here of Brodie Croft from this week, and it's incredible. He's done the job of forwards and the halfback on his own. He's done more than certain forwards, and that's unacceptable. We can't have that because the quality of people are saying, "Oh, Brodie's not been the same player this year." Maybe because he hasn't got the same players working around him, setting up a platform for him, giving him that space to work in, him and Mark Sneed. If you're playing behind a beaten pack every week, I don't care if you're Wally Lewis, you're going to struggle. You know what I mean? And it's happened again this week. And then you see Brodie taking the bull by the horn, so to speak. You should say that, Catalan. Should be the run on the pitch. But he's, he's still got it in him. And I just hope that we can give him a bit of help now. And hopefully Brad Singleton coming in as well might give us a bit more mongrel and a bit more go forward. But yeah, he's just, we look tired, and that's probably because of all the defending we're doing.
Yeah. Average gains, Brodie Croft 7, Joe Burgess 7, Sam Stone 7, James Greenwood 9. So yeah, like I say, we like to get near 8, 7, 8, 9 as as an idea, Paul.
Yeah, the stats won't make good reading when you get beat 42-0, will they? So
no,
it's a tough one really to go through. But yeah, I think there's certain players who probably not playing as well as they were last season, as we all knew we're talking about, particularly in the forwards. And I don't know why. I can't put my finger on it. And there's that lack of confidence at the moment. But it's $1 million question of how you get that back. So you get it back by winning matches, don't you? But somebody said to me at the weekend about the back line. Oh, they've got a great back line, Salford, and I can't believe they got beat 42-0. But my answer to that is you can have all the best backs in the world, but you can't just rely on backs. You know, you forwards have got to get you up the pitch. You can't sort of play 20 yards from your own line. You need your platform's got to be built by your forwards, and you know that's not been the case. It's not been the case in the last 4 to 5 weeks. You know, it wasn't the case at the OKR game, and that match at OKR in the cup. You know, I think that took a lot out of us. I think it took a lot out of our confidence away, that losing that game. And, you know, quarterfinals of the cup, it's a big loss, that. And we've not got over that yet for me. And we need to buck this trend. We really do. We need a win from somewhere because it's a downward spiral when you're getting beat.
So that's the chat. And now we'll see what all the news is. So we'll start. Transfer window shuts on the 4th. Parker. Brad Singleton's come in. Ellis Longstaff and Tyler Dupree out, hoping that we might get at least one in We talked about it previously on this podcast. There was talk. We don't normally do rumours, do we? But on Twitter, James Romas was linked to us, Parker.
Yeah, we don't know a lot about him because he's only actually had, I think, one first grade game, but I know he's played several times for Lebanon as an international. But he's only young. He's only 23, 24, and I've sent a message tonight saying that we if we did get him, we had a bit of luck with unknown overseas players in the past, so it doesn't mean anything. Some of these players in Australia are good enough to play Super League and just don't get the chance. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, if it happens, it happens. I know there's us and a couple of clubs are thinking for the guy. So he's obviously, if other teams want him as well, you don't know. He could be all right. But yeah, we need numbers. We desperately need numbers. So it'd be nice to have another body come in and just in case, more than anything, you get an injury, but if you get players back and you've got an extra body as well, it just improves your squad and the level that other players have to play at. Otherwise, you're out of the team. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see. It'd be nice to get a couple in, I think, but I don't think we will. But we have done well, like we said last week, in bringing players in at the last minute. I mean, I remember a lad called Jackson somebody or other. He seems to do all right. I can't remember him. And people like that. So you don't know. But it's that boost at the back end of the season as well. Fresh face, fresh body. Somebody with an attitude that hasn't been beaten every week. He hasn't been getting beat. He's coming in fresh. And you might just give the club a lift. So it'd be interesting to see. We've got sort of less than 24 hours now to get this deal done, if it is going to be done. And I think it's desperate what we need. I'm sure Paul Rowley must be pulling his hair out. Final transfer thought, Paul?
I'd like to see somebody come in, Rob, because we mentioned before, didn't we? Like, so Ryan Lannon left, and Dan Sargent, and we had him, leaving the club, and Dupree's gone, Longstaff's gone back. I know we've had Singleton come in, but we're low on numbers, aren't we? So I'd like to see somebody come in, but it's got to be the right person. You don't just want to sign anybody willy-nilly, do you? But if there's nobody available, there's nobody available. But I always find it a bit strange how we never seem to sign loan players anymore. But we'll have to watch your space. Excuse me. Sorry.
Is it Penny? Penny, give it to Paul Rowley. Might get some.
Excuse me.
Fun things. Actually, that Penny just sneezed up there, Paul. You could use it in the fairground. That's going to be at the Salford City Stadium on Sunday to celebrate our 150th birthday. Lots of stuff for the kids to get on there. Good fun.
Yeah, I'm expecting it to be another carnival day. I mean, we was thinking the other day about the last sort of 3 home games. We've had some great crowds, haven't we? And Wigan, Leigh, and Leeds. They've been really good days, haven't they? I think they were all over 6,000 supporters there, and really exciting. Lots of stuff going on outside the ground. I think this game's going to be the same, isn't it? I would expect that. So, and it's the champions are in town as well. You've got the 150th birthday celebration going on. You've got a lot of ex-players turning up as well. So it should be a really, really exciting day. So I'm looking forward to it. Yeah,
talking about ex-players, Parker, Bill Sheffield, Steve Nash, Maurice Richards, Paul Fletcher, Paul O'Neill, Paul Southern, Paul Farber, Paul Charlton, Paul Heighton, all coming to the game on Sunday.
All Pauls. I wonder if Paul Carriage make an appearance. No, it's brilliant. I mean, I love it. You know what I'm like. The older sort of players, I'd love to see him. Great to see Stevie Nash. But I mean, I only caught him at the back end of his career, but he's still a great player. But some legends. I mean, Paul Charlton's coming over from Oz to be part of this. I mean, if you mention Salford team to anybody in the city, really, you walk in a pub and say, "Can you name any Salford players?" Paul Charlton's name wouldn't be far off the top of the list. But what an absolute legend! I can't wait to see him. Paul Farber, a man who just entertained us, didn't it? Buffer, yeah, what a special guy he is. So it'd be great to see these players, before the game or half time or whatever. But yeah, nice sort of to relive some memories. And I hope they have a good day. And I know Paul King mentioned a few weeks ago at the film night that each player can get 2 tickets to a game whenever they want, and hopefully that message will get across, and we might see a few more coming back. But I know certain people, I'm not going to mention any names, have worked very hard at getting these players to our the club this week. And I must have a massive phone bill. But no, I can't wait to see him. It should be fun. And the whole day, you know, I think the weather might be actually okay-ish as well. So that'd be nice.
Yeah, I bet his name was Paul.
Oddly enough, yes.
Think about it. You had Paul King, Paul Traynor, Paul Rowley, Paul Parkin, Paul Whiteside. Might as well just rename Salford RLFC to Paul RLFC. Paul.
Hey, Shane, he's not coming, it, Paulie. You had in there, yeah. Yeah, no, and you nearly got Flecker's name wrong there. He'll be coming after you, calling him Phil Fletcher. Yeah, Paul Fletcher, he'll have you. No, it should be a great day. Yeah, it should be really, really exciting. And I was talking to Darren Rogers, phoned me up today. I was just on my dinner at work, and Darren Rogers phoned me and said he was panicking about who was going. He said, "Oh, Paul," he said, "is there any players going that I played with? I'm just worried because I'm going on my own now." I said, "There'll be plenty of players there," so I think he was panicking a bit. But the excitement, you know, of him phoning me, I was starstruck. Thought, blimey, this is a player that I used to watch in the 90s, and he's phoning me up asking me about this. So I know he's really excited. So I think it's going to be great. I think one thing for me that needs to happen after this is something needs to be done every year. We need to have a players. I go to the Rochdale Hornets reunion every year. I told you before, it's a great night. I go with one of my friends who used to play for him, and he just gets me a ticket and texts me along. We have a 3-course meal, comedian, all the players get together, some supporters go, and it's brilliant to see the ex-players all back together. And I'd love to Salford to do that once a year, maybe before the start of the season, get everyone all in the same room. You can even do it at the stadium. So yeah, if a couple of ex-players fancy getting involved with that, I'll give you a lift, no problem. But I think it's something that the club definitely need to do.
Yeah, he's just like, he keeps dropping these names in Nottingham Park. I just spoke to Darren Rogers.
Yeah. It's not a bad life, is it?
No. So other things you can do. You can do a bit of zorbing, which is good. Big inflatable ball bouncing into each other. The EX3 have a shop as well, Parky. So opportunity to look for some merch.
Yeah, and I believe if you spend over 50 quid, you get a free baseball cap.
Does it?
Yeah. So I think I've seen that today. So, you know, go and treat the kids. I don't know. I mean, we complain a lot that we don't have a shop. But we're going to have a shop and there's a game on. So you're not going out your way for it. Get down there and go and pick up a few bits. I mean, and we mentioned it the other week, last week, I think it was. This year's collection of shirts have been brilliant. You know, and then obviously we had the St Helens t-shirt that came out last week, and you know, we've had the Armed Forces one, we've got the Ghana stuff. The gear we've got now is the best we've had probably ever, to be fair. So yeah, it'll be good to see them there, and I hope we flog a bit of gear.
Yeah, just think, Paul, if you were on commission grabbing all these Pauls to come to the match, you'd probably get yourself a shirt.
You think so? Popular name, Paul, isn't it? I mean, I bet it's not these days. I can't remember the last kid I heard called Paul. That you've got to be a certain age now, haven't you, to be called Paul?
I'll be involved in Salford RLC.
Yeah, or I'll be involved in rugby league, yeah.
So, yeah, exciting times. Looking forward to it. I'm sure there'll be more from the club nearer the time about what to look forward to. Other things that are happening in Lance Trophy dinner, 15th of August in 235 Casino. Paul, you've been to a few of them. Always a good night.
Yeah, it was a great night. It's great to see as soon as you walk in. You know, the last one I went to, the Marriott, you see people like Malcolm Reilly, Brian Lockwood, people like that, they're like stars of the game, and you're stood rubbing shoulders with them. But there's a fair chance this season it could go to a player who's played for Salford, I suppose, couldn't it? There's one or two in that league side who've played for us. I'm not sure about OKR, but they get any ex-Salford players that could go to an ex-Salford player again this season. And it's great, just while we're on it, it's great that we've got, I think, Lee and Hull Kingston Rovers at Wembley. I think I watched the two semi-finals and two cracking matches. I don't think I was on last week, was I? So I didn't get to chat about them, but two great games, and I was really pleased for both those clubs to get through. And yeah, it should be a great cup final.
Yeah. And if you want a ticket, contact john.blackburn@salfordcc.ac.uk. You know, such a big event, parquet, you know, world renowned. If you can get down there, if you've got the juice for it, go treat yourself.
Yeah, just thinking then. I think Sam Luckley, OKR,
Yeah.
He could dominate in a final. I think just saying that actually, Paul. I think them two teams could revitalise the cup. It's been the same faces every year for God knows how long, and I've said for ages. I said it'd be nice if a Salford and a Wakefield got there, and that was my kind of thing. All right, it's not quite, but an old KR were there not that long ago. They got a bit of a spanking, didn't they, off Leeds a few years back, but Lee getting there, I think it's great for the game. As much as I'm jealous, really jealous, believe me. I think it's brilliant. I think hopefully a massive turnout because the crowds have been dwindling and people saying, oh, the cup's lost its charm and should we take it away from Wembley and all that? Absolute nonsense. Wembley's where it's belonged since 1920 odd, and that's where it's going to stay, hopefully. And it just needs a bit of fresh face because if you've been a few times, you've gone 5 years on a bounce or something like that, you might not want to go to the next one, especially if your team's probably going to make the grand final as well. You can't afford to do everything. So I think it's brilliant that both of them two teams have got there. And going on about the Lance Todd, I mean, I went to that video night the other night, and obviously Shane Hansen, Mike Burkitt, Paul Sullivan were there, but Andy Gregory was there, and I still got weak at the knees. Do you know what I mean? So you get to mingle with people like that, and absolute legends of the game. Remember when I went to one once at the Willows, the Lance Todd, and Jim Mills was there. And I'm stood next to Jim Mills, and I'm like, oh my God, that's Jim Mills. What an absolute legend. So it's a great night if you can make it. It really is. And it's just, your jaw drops. And these days, obviously, you've got the modern heroes who will be there, players who've won it in the last 10, 15 years. Phases you might have forgotten about, but real, you've got to be half decent to win that trophy. And it's, obviously it's connection at Salford's very special.
Yeah. So get yourselves down if you can. Final bit of news, the Rugby World Cup will be held in the Southern Hemisphere in 2026. 10 men's teams, 8 women's teams, 8 wheelchairs teams. Paul, down from 16 in the last World Cup. We know we're all about the French decided not to do it. So it's a boost that the World Cup is back again in 2026.
Yeah, I tell you what, I wouldn't mind going to it. I won't mind going to that. I've always fancied going up to Australia and Southern Hemisphere and that, watching rugby league and cricket. So it'd be nice to have to start doing some overtime and save up for it. But no, that's great. It's something to look forward to, that, isn't it? In the World Cup, I mean, the last one was a really good one. It was disappointing that we didn't get to the final and what have you, but it was a really enjoyable tournament, wasn't it? And obviously the wheelchair tournament, I think, captured everybody's imagination, didn't it? And everybody really, really enjoyed that. So I think this is something for the players to aim for now, isn't it? And I'm sure they'll be busting their gut to get there and get on that plane and get over there. So I don't think the dates and that have been announced and things like that. Yeah, they're the details, but sure it will be soon. And it's the World Cup's fantastic, isn't it? I mean, it's like the Ashes as well. I'd love to see that back, but probably won't for a while because of the logistics of things. But the World Cup's the next best thing for me. It's International Rugby League is the pinnacle, isn't it? And we want to see more and more of it.
Yeah, I'm sure it's more Bruce's and Sheila's in Australia, Paul. But I wish you'd look in recruiting more Pauls in Australia. Talking about the World Cup, Parker, obviously down from 16 teams in the last one, which is a bit of a down for me. But positive thing, in 2028, the Women's World Cup will be a standalone competition, which shows how much that game has grown.
Oh, absolutely. It's massive. I've been watching it recently. There's been a few games on Sky, hasn't it? The quality's far above where it was, even a couple of years back. So it doesn't surprise me. As for the Men's World Cup being 10 teams, it does disappoint me that we haven't progressed. I understand that we want to see competitive games. You don't want to see a World Cup where someone gets beat 100-0 or something. Although they do that in rugby union and nobody cares. You can do it in football World Cup. You get beat. Was it England beat someone 7-0 the other year? Panama, was it? They've got to the World Cup. Give them some credit. They are playing against massive teams, and it's a shame because we see Lebanon and Greece in the last World Cup coming on, and Italy, and we want that. We need that to develop. And if we're only going to have the same 10 teams that we've had for years, it seems like the game's going backwards again. And we need the international game to be, like Paul said, they're the pinnacle of what we do. So it's a little bit disappointing. I understand that, there's obviously financial obligations as well. But I think from the last World Cup, we should have built straight away. We didn't do anything. We didn't come off the back of it with any plan or anything. But we should be building now. It should be internationals now. It should be a European competition. and moving on, a proper competition, or not where 3 teams play each other or something stupid like that. Should all the nations there having a go, and whatever level you're at, that's the level you're at. That's how it works in every other sport. Why rugby league thinks it's special that you can't have teams trying to get in? I don't know. It baffles me, but I'm just delighted it's been settled, and we are going to have a World Cup at some point.
Yeah, and then Ashes 2025, where men and women travel to Australia, which is great. Would prefer it to Great Britain. I think that'd be more of an iconic thing, but going to England, both with the men and the women, would be a historic moment, Paul.
Yeah, it certainly would. It certainly would, and no, it'll soon be here, that and all, won't it? It soon come round, and the players have got to aim for that now. That's got to be their target, hasn't it? And I'm sure it'll be a great tournament. The World Cup is fantastic. It always is. And now with the women's as well, and the men's and the wheelchair, I thought it was great. It was a real celebration, wasn't it? The last one we had over here, and I'm sure this one will be just as good. You look at Australia, some of the facilities they've got over there, and that sort of neck of the woods. Presume that's what it's going to be. Australia, New Zealand, some fantastic stadiums. The weather's always pretty reliable as well, isn't it? It's just. It just sounds great, doesn't it? That rugby league and the sea and the beach and all that. It's got me excited now. That looking at the window, it's peeing it now.
So that's all the news, and now we'll look forward to the Saints game on Sunday. So Salford Red Devils are at home to St Helens, their 150th birthday party at the Salford City Stadium. Coming off a few defeats, but special day, special game, Parker.
Yeah, big game against the champions, a team they're a little bit battered and broken. They've lost players, suspension and injuries. I think Hurrell's out now. I think he's took a knock. I don't think he's going to be available for him. They lost 4 or 5 forwards. Still Saints. They're still, they're still good enough to beat anyone on the day, aren't they? They're not world champions for nothing. But I think it levels the playing field a little bit. And if we can get, perhaps the players that missed last week, certainly Sneed, Laffey and King, back into that team, that gives us a massive chance. Singleton should hopefully come in and make his debut. That'll give us a boost. Anyone else who we might drop in if we've won the lottery overnight or something. But yeah, I think it's going to be. I actually think it's going to be a great game. I do. I think the Saints are having a bit of a tough time. Them injuries that they sustained in the cup will set them back a little bit. They're still, like I say, still great. I watched them last week. They just got game winners everywhere. But they came to our gaff last year, and we put a number on them, didn't we? We absolutely battered them. We played well again. We've had some decent battles in recent years with them. Really have. Them blowouts that we were getting, 5-10 years ago, they seem to have gone a little bit. So I'm quite optimistic, to be honest. I don't know why. I don't know what's come over me. I don't know if it's the fact we've had a bit of sunshine this afternoon. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I think the day all in, the whole sort of celebration and seeing the ex-players, and I think might lift the crowd and give us a bit of a boost. And hope for you guys who've been to Perpignan with that atmosphere and all the singing, I hope you bring that back with you. And let's get behind the boys.
Yeah, been an up and down season for Saints. Paul won the Club World Championship, had a bit of a dip in form, started to rise a bit again. It's going to be a tough game. Obviously, Saints are a good team. They've got lots of good players in that squad.
Yeah, we could do a lot in that. Asiata off Lee, couldn't we? He did a good number on sales the other week. But they seem to have turned the corner a bit, don't they? I mean, they're still showing them vulnerable signs. I mean, they beat. I think they beat Hull in the Cup, didn't they? Or was it the league game? They got absolutely battered at Hull, didn't they, in one of the games? Anyway, about 30 points. And I know they got beat against Catalan the other week. So they have shown a vulnerable sign a few times. I don't think they've been as clinical as what they have been in previous seasons. So I was a bit, not miffed, but the other week, Paul Wellens came out, didn't he? And had a go at that Asiata at Lee. And, looking at that, I thought it was a bit out of order, really, naming a player in public like that. And I think he's under pressure. And I think that's why he probably did it, take a bit of the flack off his own team after losing in that semi-final. So there's pressure on them now this season because their chairman will want them to win that Super League. They're not going to want to go through the season and not win anything. So I know they've won the World Club Challenge, but they want to win the Super League. So they're going to be coming for us on Sunday. And, we've just said there they've got a few players out, but they've still got plenty of quality in that squad, haven't they? And plenty of quality in that back line as well. Match-winning players, international players. So they're going to start favourites, I would have thought. But hopefully we'll have one or two back. Tim Lafayette back, Matt Sneed, I'm not so sure. King Vuniai will definitely be back. He'll be fit and ready to go, won't he, after his plane ride back to Manchester on his own. So yeah, I'm up to. I think it'll be a tight game. I don't think it'll be a blow-away game. I think it'll be a tight game, and it's one that we need to bounce back in. And for the record, we've won this fixture 3 years running. So they've not won us over for 4 years. So that's quite a good stat. That actually, I was amazed when I saw that.
Score prediction, Parker.
I think I'm probably going to surprise myself.
Oh,
I'm going to go for a home win.
Oh.
Just because I think we get the players back, and I think what happened last week might have gelled over the last 2 weeks. It might have gelled the team together a little bit and might have, made them a better, stronger unit. I think it'd be close. I'm going to go 22-18.
22-18. Thoughts, Paul?
Yeah, well, I'm not going to back against them. I'll go with a Salford win. I think it'll be a tight one, though. I think it'll be a tight win. And I think we might beat them by a drop goal. I think for once, we'll get the 1-pointer against them. I'm going to go Salford 23, St Helens 22.
Okay, so I'm going to go similar to last season. Going to suddenly, start finding flair again. Play exciting rugby. All this doom and mongering washed away in 80 minutes of scintillating Salford Rugby League. So I'm going to go Salford 40, Saints 8. Parker.
I don't know what to say. I mean, as much as I'd love it, I'm not sure we're capable of that at the moment. I think we need. I think what we need for our season. I mean, winning by 40 points would be absolutely unbelievable. But I think we need one of them scruffy, lucky wins. Missed out against Lee and Leeds in 2 games that we should have won or could have won, but they got the scruffy, lucky win. I think we need that, and that might just turn our season a little bit again. But it's going to be a fascinating contest. I think two teams that on the day can throw the ball about and really entertain. And if it does stay dry, who knows? It could be a point fest. I'm not sure how far I was off last week, by the way. I can't remember what I said, but I'm sure I went for Catalan by quite a lot. So I'd have to look back at that. But yeah, no, I think it'll be a great game. And like Paul said, I mean, Saints, they've got stars all over the place, haven't they? They've got injuries, but they'll just bring more in. They've got lads in their academy that we'd love to have. So it should be a good game. Like I say, I hope the weather stays dry, and I hope the ex-players have a good day as well.
Yeah. I've got a note here that the ladies play Bradford on Sunday, but I've not seen any confirmation from the club yet. So I'm sure if you don't hear anything, it's not happened. I'm sure somebody will say something if it is happening, Paul.
Yeah, it was in the League Express, that fixture. But,
right.
I don't know. But what did you say? 40 points to 8?
Yeah.
Do you know Paul Charlton and Steve Nash? They're not playing on Sunday. They're only coming to watch. I think they were playing.
Yeah, but we know obviously with the transfer window closing, I think the only thing that makes you happy would they bring a Paul in.
Hey, what Paul could they bring in?
That's a good question.
From if we could have any Paul in the world, from an RL or Super League, what Paul could we have? I can't think of one off the top of my head.
We'll have to think. We'll have to
think
about it.
A current player.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Not many Pauls about, is there?
No. I think plenty of past, but
Paul Shaw.
Paul Green to coach them. Anyway, right. So that's the end of this week's podcast, Parky. Another great show. A bit of counselling for everybody after a turbulent couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'd like to see what comes out of this this share meeting tomorrow. See if there's any news. Get deadline day out of the way. Saturday, we can all sit down, breathe a sigh of relief, hopefully, and look forward to Sunday with a bit of optimism and the rest of the season. But like we've just been saying, it's not easy being a Salford fan. It never has been, and it never will be. But just get behind the boys. They are trying. We're at a level that we, that we're at, and that's it. There's nothing you can do about it. So get behind them and let's just hope for the best.
Yeah, I want to say a massive thanks to all our listeners. Donating via the Ko-fi helps us produce this podcast and fund all the programs that help us produce this fine show that we're all listening to and enjoying being in. Paul?
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, like Parky said, just get behind the team, and if you're not willing to do that, go and collect stamps or something, because it's not for you watching Salford, is it? Because you're not nothing's guaranteed. So take the rough with the smooth and enjoy the ride.
Yeah. So big thanks for joining us on this Devil in the Detail podcast. I'm Rob Parkinson. Fans on Facebook, Devil in the Detail SRD. Fans on Twitter at the ITD SRD. And your fans on SoundCloud, iTunes, Radio Contact, Spotify, and YouTube. Good luck, Reds. See you soon.